All right. Me too. Mhm. All right, we are live. What's up, online nutrition coach community? We are wrapping up day one today of the audience building and lead generation speaker series. I'm like way far ahead. With our third speaker of the day, who is so fantastic. So let me just give you a little backstory. We were on a stage together, like a virtual stage together, but then we just really bonded over our mutual, very hard to pronounce last names and our love for like extra Starbucks coffee orders. Now, the reason that I handpicked this person to come and speak to you all today, like I would have begged her, like showed up at her doorstep and begged her to come because she's that fantastic. We're talking here about building your audience, but then generating the leads from your audience, right? Like, and the speakers that we've had today and the speakers that you're going to have coming up are so fantastic about really getting in to, your social media and leveraging other people's audiences to build you up and to build you up. And once we have that, and we've always got to be building, right? We always want to add to our pipeline. Now, the thing is, once we have them there, how do we captivate them? How do we call them into our lives? How do we show them that we are the coach for them? Well, that is exactly what our speaker here today is an expert at doing, right? Okay, so she's a former copywriter turned digital marketer, expert story seller. I am so excited to be able to welcome Laura Mzhickteno and for her to just share her brilliance with all of you. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction. That was the best introduction I've ever had. If you have a course on how to do that, I'm sold because that was fantastic. And I love that you just fully introduced me and I don't have to explain who the heck I am. So thank you so much for that.
I got you, boo.
I want to go ahead and just dive in. I do have some slides to share, and I just want to pack as much in as I can to this time. And I think, did I share my slides or my other screen? My slides. Yay! I'm always worried I'm going to share my wrong screen. And we are talking today all about creating a buyer's journey. Here's the thing. First, I want to tell you everything I'm going to cover, which is a lot. I was about ready to just dive right in. I'm going to cover all of this. I'm going to cover the proven formula for going stranger to buyer. I'm going to talk about the posting for profit sales cycle that generates clients by leveraging the buyer's journey. I'm going to talk about what to say in your posts to speak to your ideal client and turn them into a buyer. And we're going to talk about how to make it really easy so that you can actually stay consistent with it and do it, because we're talking about leveraging this content as this buyer generating machine. Super cool. Here's the cool thing. There is a buyer journey that people go on every single time they buy. And it was just shocking to me when I started getting into this world of being a business owner that people don't know or talk about this. Because when you're a marketer, when I was working at a marketing agency, when I was a direct response copywriter, which direct response just is a fancy way of saying I would write advertisements and things that would make people click to buy. There's a system. There's a system for how you convert people, and it's well known, well accepted, been tested for decades. I'm talking at least millions, if not billions of dollars have gone through this system. And I started looking around and I was like, nobody's talking about this buyer's journey, but it's the thing we do every time we buy anything. So we're going to talk about what that is right now. I want you to just think about, in your mind, imagine the last thing you purchased. You're going to be able to see how you walked through this. This is the proven buyer's journey that everyone goes on every time they buy. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you how to apply it to your content, but you got to know it first. This is the ADA model. I didn't make this up. This is tried and tested and proven and decades and research and tons of money pushed through this. We know that people go through this. First, something gets our attention. We notice it. We see it. We're interested in it. We start paying attention to it. Then we develop interest in it. We start being interested. What is that thing? I'm curious about that thing. I want to know more about that thing. Does that thing resonate with my values? All of that. Then we go from, I'm kind of interested in exploring that, to I want it. And then from that want, that desire, we take action. And so you can think about every single purchase. I'm like, I just have this water bottle right here. I got this water bottle on Amazon. Like, I think the first thing that grabbed my attention was like, it was a bigger water bottle. I was drinking tons of water and I was like, oh, that's a big water bottle. And I started getting interested in it because it locks and it doesn't leak and da 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 da. And then I saw that they had my brand color and I was like, oh, I want that. And then I clicked to buy and I bought it, right? So this is the journey you go on every single time you buy anything, including coaching. This is when your clients are going to, first, you got to grab their attention. They've got to notice you. They've got to see who you are. Then they've got to become interested in you, know what you do, how you do it, what you value, those kinds of things. Then the desire from to I want you, then they begin to take action. So I'm going to actually break these down even more so you can kind of see how you would break this down into creating content around each of these steps, which is exactly what I want you to start doing so that you're moving people from stranger to buyer really efficiently. Again, it's like, I don't understand. We know that this buyer's journey works. We know that this is the journey people go on to buy. And yet most people aren't intentionally targeting these steps in their content. And that's what I want you to change today. So first, you want to create content that is designed to grab attention and deeply engage them, and so that they start to become curious about you. So you want to think about like what's going to get them to notice you, what's going to attract their attention, what's going to bring them into your world initially, right? So you want to start thinking about, and we're going to go in more in deep on this, but how can I create content that's going to initially attract attention? And that should be, I would say, like one pillar of your content. Everybody's out there creating all of these pillars and themes. And it's not that those things are bad or wrong, but they're not, like, just having 3 themes or topics of content isn't intentionally moving people down your buyer's journey. Having a type of content that you're posting every single week or every single month that's designed to attract attention, that is. So I would actually make these your pillars of content. Then you want to create content that generates interest. This is content where they get to learn more about you, where they get to learn more about your brand, where they get to learn more about what you value. They start to learn about what kind of things that you do, and they're seeing if it's a potential fit for them. So this is great kind of content for you to like. Actually, it's interesting. Kate mentioned that we bonded over hard to pronounce last names and coffee orders, right? Like, you're bonding over them going, oh, wow, she's a lot like me, right? And so they're becoming interested in you and your values and your business and your solution as a person. You want to create that kind of content too. Then again, we're going to go for that stimulate desire. This is that I like to I want. If you are somebody who, I get this all the time where they say like, Laura, I get a lot of likes or comments or people messaging me being saying, oh, my content's so inspirational. Like, oh, I love your content. I hear this all the time. If you are getting that, this is what you're not doing. You're not stimulating desire. You have become this person that they really enjoy your content. A friend of mine calls it a likable expert. They really enjoy your content, but they don't want to work with you. They don't have to have your services and offerings because you're not stimulating your desire. And the way that you stimulate desire is by creating belief that your way is better than all the other ways, that you stand out from everything else in the marketplace, that your solution is different than every other solution. And you're talking about it and positioning it as different and saying, hey, look at this. This is unique and different. You can't get it everywhere else. And it's better than all the other ways to solve your problem. So I'm thinking about like in nutrition coaching, I don't know, I see a couple of different people on my feed, and, one of them definitely talks a lot about high volume eating. So this is where you're positioning yourself and you're saying like, look, I do this differently. Like, you're tired of counting calories. You're tired of being hungry all the time. You're tired of restricting food groups. Guess what? I do this high volume eating. This is a different way. It's a better way. It's a way that works. And so you're positioning your way as really the superior alternative, and you're getting them to believe in that first. And that's what you're not doing if you're getting the, oh my God, I love your content, but they're not buying. All right, then you've got to create calls to action content. This is, and this is the action, this is the last step. This is the two, I see two polar ends of this a lot in people's content. Either they're calling to action all the time where their whole feed is just like an advertisement after advertisement after advertisement, and they're not giving any value and nobody's buying because all they're doing is making calls to action, or they're never doing it. And it's like this one or the other. And I would say if you would just make more calls to action, you would get more sales for most people, unless you're in the camp where practically every post is a call to action. More than likely you need to make more calls to action. I actually, with my clients, which by the way, I have a social media agency too, I give a quarter of content to each of these. So a quarter of my content is meant to grab attention. A quarter of my content is meant to stimulate interest or generate interest. A quarter of my content is meant to build desire or demand. And a quarter of my content is calling people to action to buy, to work with you. So we already know that this is the buyer's journey. We already know that this is what the way people are going. We already know we can create content on that. So why are we not intentionally guiding people through it with our audience? Starting today, that's exactly what we're doing. I'm going to show you exactly the system you can have in your mind, rinse and repeat over and over and over to drive people down your buyer's journey with your content. I call this the posting for profit sales cycle. It's simple, it's repeatable. You're going to use it month after month after month to keep bringing people through this process. It follows the same steps, but in a way that's really applicable and easy to remember. And so the first step up here at the top, I call it audition content. This is that attract attention stage, just like we know on the buyer's journey. But in audition content, it's like you're auditioning for a role in their life. You're auditioning to be in their feed, for them to see you. You're like, hey, I'm here. And they're either scrolling on past you, or they're like, oh, she's pretty cool. I'm going to follow her. I'm going to pay attention to her. So this type of content, again, I make this a quarter of my content plan. What I love about this is you can do this every single month, meaning each of these steps is 1 week of your entire month. Or you can make it a daily thing where each of you do one of these every day. So depending on if you sell a little bit higher end services or higher ticket services, I would go through this whole cycle every month and rinse and repeat it. If you sell lower ticket services or supplements, things like that, you would probably repeat this cycle every single week. So this would either be 1 week or 1 day of your content. And in your audition content, you're going to share content that is trendy. So, any of the social media trends, totally, absolutely newsworthy. So just anything in the news, but relate it back to your work. So I remember, one of the examples that I gave shortly after the Queen died was what the Queen can teach you about your self-care, right? Something where you're taking something that's newsworthy or in the news or top of mind for people already and kind of grabbing that attention, making them stop their scroll and applying it back to what you do. So it's kind of that combination between a pattern interrupt that's going to get them to stop, but also still identifying kind of that it's the right person for you by saying this is what you can learn from the Queen about self-care, right? So you're wanting to kind of include both those things. You can do also trendy or newsworthy within your niche. So if something new comes out in the nutrition, like a new thing that people are talking about, maybe there's a new diet program. Just today on TikTok, I saw somebody who was actually trying to lose weight through a feeding tube. And it's a new thing where they're going to a med spa to try to lose weight by using a feeding tube. And I don't know if that's going to trend or not, but if that starts trending, actually talking about that can be a great way, it may be trending within your niche. You can also do this with really polarizing content. So if you have a strong view or opinion or want to stand against something or for something, those are all really, really great ways to kind of grab somebody's attention and get them noticing you. And then in this kind of content, you want to use calls to action. Yes, you always want to have a goal for every single post. One of the biggest difference between a copywriter like me and I would say your average business owner is I have a goal for absolutely everything I write, right? So if I'm writing a subject line to an email, it's to get them to open the email. In the email, that has a goal. Every post has a goal. Every piece of copy or content that I create has a goal. So maybe my goal with this is going to be a call to action to get them to follow me. So follow for more tips on, stay healthy meal prep with your kids, something like that. It could be to tag a friend. A lot of people forget, like, tag a friend who would benefit from this information. It could be to share it. But the goal here is to grow your audience and to grab their attention. So you want to say something like follow, something like tag a friend, something like share. Great. You've got their attention. I would do this for a week or at least a day. Then you're going to move on to what I call yes content. This is that interest. Remember, we talked about on the buyer's journey where we generate interest. This is content where you're going to be sharing more about you, more about your values, in a way that you're really connecting with their desires and pain points. This is a great time to share your personal stories, especially if your personal stories are mirroring the pain points and desires of your best ideal clients. So you're going to be sharing that. And here's what's really key here. You're going to literally get them saying yes. Yes, that's me. Yes, I'm interested. You're getting them to raise their hands. It's really powerful within sales to get little micro yeses along the way. You're getting these like subtle commitments from them along the journey before you ask for that big yes, I'll work with you. So you're going to use calls to action like, does this sound like you? Let me know in the comments. Maybe you've shared a story or you've shared a post that really speaks to the emotion because people buy on emotion. And in the calls to action, you're going to say something like, does this speak to you? Let me know in the comments. Or does this resonate with you? Let me know in the comments. Or my favorite is like, I'm thinking about creating a training on XYZ. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested. Like, ask them directly if they'd be interested. Do you know how powerful of a psychological hack it is for them to be literally telling you, I'm interested? That's huge for them to say, oh, I'm interested. That's such a powerful moment for them in their mind. Plus, it has the added benefit of you being able to go, oh, that person's interested and that person's interested and that person's interested. And maybe I want to connect and build relationship and network with those people who are literally raising their hands and telling me, yes, that's me. Yes, that sounds like me. Yes, I'm your ideal client. Yes, I'm interested. All right, then you want to move on to spotlight content, which is really that opportunity to shine that light on what we talked about. What makes you different? What makes you special? What makes you stand out? What is different about your way of solving the problem for them? And you want to talk about that, and you want to give them this insight or aha moment saying, oh my gosh, like where they think like, oh my gosh, that's why it hasn't worked for me before, because all of those ways weren't right for me in some ways. It doesn't mean that those ways have to be wrong or bad, although you certainly can throw stones at them. It can just be like, maybe it wasn't right for you. Maybe it didn't work for you. And so you're building belief in that way that you do things. And this is really, really important because when you're making sales through copy, you're always making two sales. You're making a sale on the solution or your way or your opportunity. And then you're making a sale on the product or service that gives you that new way or opportunity or solution every single time. This is important whether you're talking about social media content or sales pages or emails. You're always making two sales, and you have to sell them on the first thing first. They have to believe that the solution or the way or the opportunity is the one that they want before you can sell them on the service or the offer that gives them the way, which is exactly what you do in call to action over here. By the way, in spotlight content, you're going to give them a call to action to get on your get on your email list, like a freebie, or join your Facebook group. You're going to give them a call to action that lets every time they take a step through this cycle, they're just moving closer and closer and closer to working with you. And then by the time you get to action content, you are actually inviting them to work with you. And you're talking about your program by name, and you're talking about your program. And we're going to get into these just a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go here just to make this super, super clear. And I'll go through these pretty quickly, but just to remember, audition content is the first step of the cycle. This rinse and repeats over and over and over. You're going to grab attention and grow your audience. You're going to use topics that are trendy, newsworthy, and polarizing. And you're going to make sure you're speaking to the right people. Then you're going to keep repeating the cycle over and over. You're going to go to yes content. You're going to build rapport with them by connecting with their values, getting them to raise their hand, say, yes, that's me. I'm that person. I want that thing. I'm interested. Then you're going to build belief in your way of solving the problem and shine a light on it. And then when you're calling them to action, you're actually inviting them to work with you. You're actually inviting them to the name of your program. You're saying it by name. You're telling them the problem that your program solves. I like to give them the exact words to use. So I'll say, send me a DM that says, I'm interested in Convert, to get all the details. Because a lot of times people are afraid to reach out to you to find out about your program because they're uncomfortable. They don't know how to reach out. They don't know what to say. So if you give them the exact words, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to do. The other thing that's going to make it a lot better for people to reach out to you and increase your likelihood of people reaching out to you is if you tell them what's going to happen after. Because I'm sure you've heard the saying, everybody loves to buy, but they hate to be sold. Yes. So they're afraid that if they DM you, or if they message you, or if they book a sales conversation with you in some way, they're afraid that they're going to be sold. And so if you tell them what happens after they DM you, they're so much more likely to DM you, because you can like allay those fears. You can let them know like, hey, this is not going to be a high pressure sales situation. So a lot of times I'll say something like, hey, DM me. I want to learn more about Convert to get all of the details. I'll ask you a couple of questions to see if you might be a fit. Then I'll send you a PDF with all of the information. Then if you still have questions, we can book a call and chat about it together, right? So from hearing that, you're going, oh, like she's just going to send me a PDF. And then if I still have questions, I can book a call. And so, you're not, sometimes I'll even say, I don't do high pressure sales. So it's just like, I'll give you the information so you can make the decision. So by doing that, you're really increasing the likelihood that somebody is going to reach out to you. And all you're going to do is repeat these same steps over and over. You're going to go, I'm going to come back here. You're going to go audition content, yes content, spotlight content, and action content over and over and over. So if you do this every month, you just repeat the same cycle over and over every month, and you know exactly what to post. You know exactly why you're posting it, exactly why you're posting it when, and that it's bringing people along your buyer's journey month after month after month. Most people who use this get 2 to 5 organic reach outs every single month on high ticket programs. And for most high ticket programs, getting 2 to 5 people in your DMs every single month from your organic content is a lot more than what you're getting now. I do want to talk about exactly what to say, because that's very, very important in getting this right, especially when it comes to your spotlight content. You may have seen this before, but a lot of people do this wrong. So I want to help you with this. This is your refined marketing statement, and it's I help blank. So that's your audience. Get blank, which is your desire, without old way, through new way. Now, here's what's really important. In that I help audience get desire, that's what you're focused on a lot in your audition content and your yes content. Those first 2 steps, you're speaking to those pain points, you're speaking to those desires, you're speaking directly to your specific person. In the spotlight content, where you're really shining a light on your way and what's unique about it, you've got to focus on the without old way, through new way. So whatever the old way is, right? Maybe it's counting calories, maybe it's going on fad diets, maybe it's intermittent fasting, maybe it's without giving up their favorite foods, maybe it's without spending hours in the gym. Um, that's the old way that you're going to say, like, those ways didn't work for you in the past, or those ways aren't going to work for you in the past. My new way, my better way, the one that's going to work for you, that's what we're focused on today. I don't know. I saw a guy on TikTok. I have no idea if he's any good or not, but he was a weight loss hypnotist, right? So he would be like, without dieting, through hypnotism, right? So like that's a way, like whether you agree with it or think it's real or not, that's without an old way through a new way. Where people mess up on this is they do something like without wasting time, or without betraying themselves, or without wasting money. And while nobody wants to do those things, that's the problem. They're not actually old ways. They're not ways that people are choosing to try to solve the problem that aren't working. And that's where people get kind of blocked up on this refined marketing statement, is they choose something that's not a way people are actively trying to solve the problem, and then their marketing and their spotlight content's really falling flat and not making that first sale that we have to make every time we make a sale. Remember, I said you always got to make sales. You got to sell them on your way, your solution, your opportunity. Then you got to sell them that your program gives them that. And so if you can't articulate the old way correctly, if you're saying it just as something like, oh, lose their authenticity, or get buried in tons of stress, or whatever, if you're just saying something that's happening to them but not intentionally, your marketing's not going to be nearly as effective, and it's not going to stimulate the desire enough to make them want you. Remember that spotlight content, this is where we go from I like her to I want her. I want to work with her. And so you've got to make that old way something that's a way that they've actually tried in the past, or a way that they've looked at trying to solve the problem that's not as good as your solution. So you want to make sure that you're highlighting your way as the way. So once you have this down, okay, great. In the first 2 weeks, or the first 2 steps of the cycle, I'm going to focus on these top 2. I'm going to focus on who they are and what they want, or who they are and what their pain points are. And I'm going to really speak to those. And then in the spotlight, I'm going to talk about the old way versus my new way. And then in the action post, that's where I get to really talk about my program and what makes my program so great, and how it helps them get everything that they want, and why it gives them this new way that's better. Hopefully that's clarifying exactly what you do. So now you know the buyer's journey, you know how to apply it to your content, you know exactly what to say. Let's make it easier for you to actually do this, because where this tends to not work for people is if they're not consistent. And I think a lot of us know that sometimes it can be hard to be consistent. So I wanted to give you guys tools to help you guys be really, really consistent with using this. So this is how to make your buyer's journey fast and easy. A saying that I say all the time in my program is that great copy is assembled, not written. And so the way to make your content and your copy easier and faster, and to help you be consistent, is to assemble it rather than write it, which is why I love this magic content formula. This is essentially the workflow that I would have you guys go on to create it. And yeah, it does spell magic. So make, assemble, get, identify, and complete. So it's easy for you to remember. First, I want you to make your hooks first. A lot of times the hardest part of this is like coming up with the first things to say, or just staring at a blank doc. So if you know you're going to do this cycle month after month, every single month, to whatever your posting schedule is, let's say you post 3 times a week, or 4 times a week, or 5 times a week. Let's say you post 5 times a week, just for the sake of discussion. And you know you're going to do this. You know you need 5 audition hooks, 5 hooks that are going to grab attention, 5 hooks you want to be polarizing. And you know you want to put a lot of time, effort, and energy into these hooks, because they really need to, all hooks are important, but these hooks really need to grab attention. So you're going to create 5 of those. Then you're going to move on to your yes content, which is all about building rapport and getting them to say, yep, that's me, I'm interested. So you're going to create, if you post 5 days a week, you're going to create 5 hooks that speak to their desires, that speak to their pain points, that really connect with them as people. Then you've got to write 5 hooks that show your way, your solution, how you do it as better than any other way in the marketplace. So you're going to write 5 hooks that are like, what everybody ought to know about losing weight, right? Or the little known secret of staying healthy with your family, things like that. So you can really highlight what's special or unique about your way. So you want to start thinking of brainstorming hooks that allow you to do that. Then you want to create 5 of hooks that really position your offer as the best way to get that. So this could be, here's how to get, slim in 90 days. I don't know what your offer is, but you can use a hook that really highlights the power of your offer. Now you've brainstormed all your hooks and you're no longer staring at a blank document. And you also you've started to organize your buyer's journey to bring them down that approach. Next, I'm gonna have you assemble your copy with post formulas. When I say post formulas, what I mean is keep it really simple. You can use something like, there's something called hook story offer, where you tell a hook and you have a hook, you tell a story, and then when it says offer, it just means call to action. So you would use some kind of call to action. There's another one where it's hook value offer. So it's a hook, you give a little bit of value, then you make a call to action. Just a really simple formula that helps you stop overthinking it, right? So it's not like this big project to create this copy. The third step is a little bit counterintuitive for most people. Then you bank them. Before you even post them, I want you to get them in some kind of a bank or library. It doesn't matter if this is a spreadsheet or a Google Doc. I give away a free Notion template. However you want to do it, you want to get these in a place where you can reuse and recycle them over and over and over. That's how you beat content overwhelm for good. Then you can identify your post format after you've got them in your bank. So this is where you get to decide, do I want to post this as a written post with an image? Do I want to use it as a script for a reel or a TikTok? Do I want to make it a carousel post on Instagram? Or do I want to make it all 3 and spread them out over the next few months? So I'm getting a lot of bang for my creative buck because I reformatted this post in multiple ways. And then you can either post them or schedule them, and you're complete. So now, hopefully, and I did put how to connect with me on this last slide. Now, hopefully, you know exactly what the proven buyer's journey looks like, how to apply it to your content, exactly what to say in each step, and how to do it really efficiently so that you can stay on that cycle.
So good. And this is why, we talk about story selling and weaving that story in there. Can you talk about just maybe a story or just give an example of how people do that?
Yeah, my absolutely favorite story formula, I've been using it for years. I call it the 4 S's. And it's struggle, solution, soul, sell. And so you start by dropping me right in the struggle of the story, because that's where the conflict is. And conflict creates emotion, and people buy on emotion. So the thing that's missing from stories most of the time, if they're not converting, is conflict. So I want you to drop me right in the middle of it, right in the struggle, right in those pain points. So whatever pain point your ideal client is feeling, if you have a story where you've been on that journey, that's where you want to start it. If you are telling a story about a client, like a case study, you want to start it where they're at the pain point. So drop me right into the struggle. And then whatever the solution is, right? So you have this struggle, then how did you solve it? How did you find a solution? This a lot of times is a great way to think about, if it's your story, you were struggling with whatever your ideal client was struggling with, probably, then you found the solution and it worked for you, right? So you're going to position what that solution is. This is a good time to highlight that your unique way or your unique solution or opportunity. Then the third step in the 4 S's is soul. And this is bare your soul. I don't know if have you ever seen that Simon Sinek TED talk where he's like, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So people want to buy from like genuine, real people who actually care. So this is where you get to bare your soul or share your why or tell them like this is where you get to say like a lot of times I'll say something like that's why share my struggle and what my solution is and I'll be like that's why it's so important for me to share this with you. Like I don't want you to struggle the way that I did. It's really important to me that you have this even though I did it, right? And so you're just sharing that why of what it is and how important it is to you. And then the cell is just a call to action. What we have to understand is that people are always selling all the time. It just may not be a program, right? Like the preacher at the pulpit is selling, the politician is selling, my 11-year-old trying to stay up late is selling, right? Like you can sell people. So maybe you're selling them on following you, maybe you're selling them on just believing that your way is the best way. Maybe you're selling them on whatever your call to action is. But it's just that struggle solution soul sell. I have used that on probably like 80 to 90% of my highest performing posts because it works every time.
That's so good. And I feel like that's such a great formula for sharing like client case studies and testimonials. I love that you talked about like dropping us right into the struggle and also the bearing your soul piece, because I feel that when so many of us share our client stories and testimonials, we're like, they went from this to this. And it's like, cool, but how? And the how piece too is something that I know that for so much, I did it too for so long. Like I hid behind the how because I was like, I don't want to tell people because they're just going to do it themselves. But they don't, which is why we give away lead magnets and people never follow through with them, because
Right.
the miracles in the coaching.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the other thing that I see, you mentioned people being like, oh, they were here and now they're here. The mistake that I see people making a lot of times in their stories is they're actually telling summaries. Like it's the difference between reading a novel and going and looking at the Amazon description of the book. A summary is just like, this is kind of the overview of what generally happened, where stories are typically specific moments in time. I call them tiny moments. So it's the difference between like being like, every day I went to my office and I was miserable and then I decided I was going to do something about it. So finally I started online business and I made millions of dollars. Now I'm here today, right? That's a summary and it's
Mhm.
so boring and it's so flat and it's so plain versus telling me the moment where you broke down on the train to work crying and you're sobbing in the middle of the train because you just can't do it anymore and you're telling me that specific moment in time. It's going to be so much more powerful. And you can even combine, like if you're, doing a case study, you can combine a couple of little tiny moments together to highlight the overall arch or journey. But that's so much more compelling. There's no emotion in summaries and people
Yeah.
buy an emotion.
I'm so glad that you touched on that, because obviously I follow your content and you posted something recently about talking about fear and being very open with talking about the fear, the struggle, the all of it, and to not shy away from it, because I do. And I think especially as nutrition coaches, we want to be inspirational and aspirational. We don't want to play on people's fear. However, like we do need to let our audience know that we know what they're afraid of. We know, and we
Yeah.
want to help them get through it and get in front of it and not experience the heartache
Yeah.
that could potentially exist for them.
I mean, if it helps, essentially what you're really doing when you're talking about it is you're empathizing with it. You're literally expressing empathy for what they're feeling right now, or what they're afraid of, or what they're struggling with, or their self-doubt or their frustration. Like it's showing that you are human and that you understand. And if you just never speak to it, it's actually, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like totally bypassing where they're at right now and not expressing any empathy or understanding for what's going on. And it makes you feel really unapproachable and out of touch, and they don't feel like they can connect with you if you don't do that. The other thing that I want to speak to that might help anybody who's like struggling to talk to pain points or fears is it's actually very therapeutic to my brain or to our brains. So prior to being a copywriter, my master's is actually in psychology. And there is a whole type of therapy that is really just letting people sit and talk about their problems. And it's very soothing to the brain because that's what our brains are designed to do. Our brains are designed to be problem solvers. And so our brain loves to think about and talk about our problems. And it can be very healing and also very calming for people who have a lot of anxiety and things like and fear, to just actually get a place to acknowledge and address and speak on and think about and talk about our problems. Our brain's like, oh, finally, I get to do what I'm designed to do. Whereas if you're like avoiding it, it's actually going to cause more feelings of depression, more feelings of anxiety, things like that. So it's almost like therapeutic for you to talk about the pain points of your ideal clients with them.
I think that that's like, I love that you touched on that. I love that you wove in like your psychology background, because I think it's actually really important that people understand that you really do know how purchases are made.
Yeah.
And those of us that are here in the online nutrition coach community, like we talk a lot amongst ourselves usually about the fact that like a doctor's office most of the time is going to walk in, ask you what your symptoms are, and give you a prescription, right?
Yeah.
And like what you were just saying there, it's not therapeutic for the brain. We offer this chance to sit and talk with us. So why not tell people that's exactly what we do in our
Yeah.
copy?
Yeah. And that kind of reminds me of the other piece that people are often shy about is this, in this whole process, there's you've got to make the call to action. You've got to actually ask people to buy to work with you. And a lot of people who come into my programs are very like nervous around like putting actual send me a message to get in this program and talking about their program and talking about what the program offers. And one of the things is that's us actually being a coach, right? That's us actually leading them. And a lot of people forget that like part of our job as a coach, as a mentor is to like guide them and give them direction and help them make a decision and motivate them to take action. And so by calling people to action, by speaking to their pain points, by speaking to their fears, you're actually really just doing your job as a coach, as a mentor, as a guide to get them what they really want. Because frankly, most humans, without the help of a support mentor or guide, they're never going to make the changes they want. They're just going to stay stuck in it. And then that's going to make them miserable. And so by you doing what it takes to call them to action, doing what it takes to lead them down the buyer's journey, using buyer psychology to bring them down that buyer's journey with fear and pain and things like that, you're ultimately doing your job and taking a stand for them, maybe even giving them a little tough love, which is totally needed sometimes, and helping them permanently make a change in their life. And I say it's worth it.
Mic drop. I mean, we all talk about wanting to be the last coaches that our clients ever have to hire.
Oh, I love that.
This is how you do
love
it.
that.
This is how it's done. No, I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so tell us again where we can find, follow, and stay connected to you.
Yeah. So Facebook, that's like where I'm at. That's my favorite place. You'll get to know me in about a day on Facebook. And so it's just Laura Mzhickteno on Facebook. I'm actually famously Laura on Instagram and YouTube. So that's fun too.
Yeah, because fun fact, Laura actually is famous. Like she's in a past life, she's been in the entertainment industry. So.
Well, I love the double play on famously. So famously also means like excellently, right? So I love that. But also legitimately, I do have this strong theater and film background, acting background. So I feel like it just totally is absolutely me.
I love it. I love it so much. So find, follow, and connect with Laura. I also invited her to join our community here. So if you've got additional questions, you can tag her in the comments here right underneath the video. And I know we've gotten some love for you that says that like lots of gold nuggets and they can't wait to watch this again. Yeah, watch it again. Awesome. Take more. Like she's showing up and just giving, receive. Okay. Amazing.
I love that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for joining us today. And we'll catch you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.